Everyone, I hope you are doing well. So today I wanted to make a little video on what healing may actually look like on your awakening journey. Now, the most confusing parts about what you're going through on your journey is really sometimes dealing with sicknesses, traumas, patterns that aren't really yours. And you can actually, if you don't catch it right away or understand what's happening, really fall into a pattern of confusion about where this is coming from, trying to figure out what you're dealing with. And really, this video is going to kind of help you with what may be coming up, why it's coming up, and really how to deal with it. Now, on your awakening journey, there is, especially if you're going through a Kundalini awakening, you go through an intense purification process. And this will tend to bring up things for you. And especially this is true for those that are going through an awakening and are generational curse breakers. Because what's happening is you are not only releasing stuff for your own self, but you are dealing with ancestral patterns, things that have been carried down into your lineage. And the one that really confuses people the most is when a whole bunch of sickness may surface that isn't really yours. And you associate it with just happening after your awakening, but really, you're like, wow, this awakening really is making me very, very sick. But that is not the case. What's really happening is you are being forced to release all that is, kind of in your ancestral DNA, your patterns, and you unfortunately or fortunately get to be the lucky one to really break those ties. Now, what I really want to kind of emphasize here is sickness. A lot of people don't talk about sickness as much as we talk about trauma, the pain, the old patterns, all of that is very common. But on a more serious note, some of the stuff that can come up is, stuff like autoimmune diseases in your family's lineage that may have carried on, and now you have the responsibility of releasing it. You may also have digestive issues as part of this purification process, a lot of anxiety, and, all those medical symptoms that show up. Now, if you don't really understand what's happening to you, though, of course, and as everybody should initially, you will run to the doctors to try and figure out what's happening to you. Where you do not need to worry is if, after running all the tests that the doctor wants to run, they are not able to find something that they need to cure. It really just means that you need to look for alternate practices that are going to help you get through this. So, of course, do your due diligence, go to the doctor, figure out what may be wrong with you. And I'll give you an example. This is a minor one, but let's say that you have a lot of blockages, emotional blockages. You tend to, see the symptoms of what looks like allergies, a lot of water running through your eyes, possibly through your nose. You're taking allergy medications, but it is not helping. First of all, if you can try to get by without the allergy medication, you really should, because that is your body trying to release old emotional blockages that, you've kind of stored up over time. So let's say you had, a situation maybe once or multiple times, especially if you're not much of a crier, where you should have, been able to emotionally release things, but you didn't. Your body ended up storing all of that. And now, as part of the purification process, your body is trying to release that. It's almost finding ways, whether you're watching a sad movie, circumstances of some other individual that may go through some emotional trauma, or certain circumstance that you watch on the news, your body is trying to find ways to kind of get you to release that. And since you may not do it in a form of crying, it's forcing bit by bit for it to come through and exit through your eyes and your nose. So if regular treatments by the doctor are not working, allergy tests aren't really showing anything, do not freak out. This just means your body's trying to do what it needs to do to heal, and you need to look for other ways of healing yourself through this process. What can you actually do to help yourself along this process? As difficult as this journey is, what can you turn to in terms of solutions to, kind of handle the symptoms that you may be seeing? And, some will be more difficult than others. Again, I want to reiterate, definitely go to the doctors first, get all your testing done, see what they recommend. The other thing I want to kind of mention here is your body is trying to release a lot of the things that have been holding you back, right? In terms of emotional blockages, in terms of old traumas. And your body needs a way to release that. If you are being suggested very heavy medication, and there are alternatives out there that you could consider, do consider that before you take on the heavy medication from the doctors, unless there is no other route, or if they really strongly are recommending that you must do that, then of course that is something that you need to decide for yourself based on the medical advice that you've received. But apart from that, if you find that, medically everything's been ruled out, the doctors aren't really able to help you with what you're experiencing because the tests are coming out clear, you may want to look at alternate practices such as, homeopathic medication, seeing some naturopaths to see what they may recommend. Of course, I talk about breath work a lot. That helps you kind of move energy throughout your body so that you can actually release what you may be experiencing. Apart from that, meditation is a great way to really tune into your soul and see what recommendations come up from your higher self. And I say that because your soul often knows what it needs most, but we are actually reluctant to take on that advice, or we're not in tune with what guidance may come through from our inner self. So definitely do those practices regularly as you may seek and find a lot of comfort and help there for your journey. Now, other than that, I also do want to recommend, a lot of the work that is done by Dr. Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton. You can definitely find a lot of videos on YouTube by Bruce Lipton. In fact, I'll see if I can link one in the description for this video. Now, according to Bruce Lipton, we actually run on, programming that's in our subconscious mind about 95% of the time, and only 5% of what we do is actually conscious. So that really tells us, and especially if you're a generational curse breaker, this is really helpful to you, is that we have the responsibility to really break that old subconscious patterning and rewriting that. And so if you take a look at some of the work by Dr. Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton, you can actually reprogram your mind, your subconscious mind, simply by running tapes overnight to help you through that. There is a lot of healing that they recommend can be done through the reprogramming of your subconscious mind. So if all these other, recommendations from the doctor or what you've seen medically, even, the natural pathways is not working for you, this is something else to also consider on this path, because it can get really challenging when you can't really understand what's happening to you. And if you can really, reprogram your subconscious mind, that can really help you on your healing journey during this whole process. Remember that half or more than half your battle is going to be a mental one on this awakening journey, where you are really trying to keep yourself in control regardless of what is coming up for you, because it can really get scary, especially when the doctors tell you they don't have a solution for what you're really experiencing. And depending on the seriousness of it, that may freak you out. You may not know what to do and where to turn to. So remember that as long as you can control your mind, understanding that what's actually happening to you is going to be beneficial in the longer run. Once you really work through it and come out on the other side, there are beautiful things waiting for you on your awakening journey. So if you can win this, mental battle, you will end up accelerating this awakening journey for yourself and really making through it. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope this was helpful. God bless.